What happens when the owner of a fast casual restaurant chain grabs an apron and finds out the salad bar is hiding more than just vegetables? Wesley Jameson stood in the back of his Escalade, pulling a faded navy t-shirt over his head. His usual tailored jacket and pressed slacks were folded neatly on the seat. In their place, khakis, old sneakers, and a name tag that read Cal Trainee. He checked his reflection in the side mirror. The scruffy beard dyed darker than his natural color helped. The cheap glasses did the rest. He barely recognized himself. 8 stores. That's what his late father had left him. Not a massive empire, but enough to matter. Wesley had taken pride in keeping them running. But lately things felt off. There were no major complaints. Just little things. More turnover. Slower ticket times. A few negative reviews mentioning rude employees, weird vibes. He didn't want to rely on second-hand reports anymore. So he picked the 3rd store downtown, busy lunch rush, lots of foot traffic. He hadn't met anyone at the location personally, and since it was a corporate chain, most employees had no clue who the actual owner was. His face wasn't on the website. He just owned the place. Quietly, Wesley walked through the front door, chin down, posture slouched. The manager on shift, a short, sharp-eyed man named Travis, barely looked up from his phone. "You the new trainee?" Travis asked. "That's me, Cal." "Great. You're on salad bar. It's a mess back there. Whitney'll show you." Whitney Zeller was already behind the counter, moving fast. She had her curly hair tied back in a knot and was scooping grilled chicken onto a customer's plate. She glanced at him with a tired smile. "Hey, I'm Whitney. You're on salad bar?" "Cool. I'll walk you through it." She didn't waste time. She showed him where the fresh-cut veggies were kept, how to rotate the bins, how to keep from cross-contaminating the gluten-free toppings. She didn't talk much, but her hands moved with the kind of speed that only came from repetition and care. "Rule 1, she said, don't be slow. Rule 2, don't skimp. People pay for quality." Wesley nodded, keeping up as best he could. She was fast, but not rude. She said thank you to every customer. Her tone was warm even when the line got long. But the first red flag came fast. "Whitney," Travis shouted from the back. "Come here." Whitney gave Wesley a look, like she already knew what was coming. She handed him a pair of tongs. "Just do your best. I'll be right back." She disappeared into the back. Minutes passed. The line kept growing. Wesley, fumbling with spinach and cherry tomatoes, tried to keep it moving. He overheard a woman mumble, "Where's the regular girl?" A man behind her said, "This guy's clueless." Wesley pushed through it. He'd expected to be bad at the job. That wasn't the problem. What bothered him was when Whitney finally returned, her eyes red. She didn't say anything, just wiped her hands on her apron and jumped back in. "You good?" Wesley asked quietly. "Yeah," she said too fast. "Let's keep moving." Later, during the lull after the lunch rush, Wesley was cleaning the sneeze guard when he overheard Travis talking to another employee near the dry storage room. "She's working doubles all week," Travis said. "I told her if she wants the full-time spot, she better prove she's worth it. No breaks. No freebies." Wesley froze. The other guy, maybe a high schooler, looked nervous. "But isn't that kinda? You want shifts or not?" Travis snapped. "Clock out if you got a problem." That night, Wesley lay in bed at the cheap motel he'd booked for the week. His back hurt from standing all day, and his mind wouldn't stop racing. Whitney had worked straight through lunch. No break, no water. She hadn't complained once. He looked at the name tag on the counter, Cal. He hated the lie, but he hated what he'd heard even more. The next morning, he got to the store early. Whitney was already there, chopping cucumbers with headphones in. She looked up and smiled faintly. "Hey Cal, ready for round 2? He nodded. Wouldn't miss it. By noon, the salad bar was slammed again. Travis hadn't shown up yet, typical. Whitney ran the line like a machine. But just after 1, Travis came storming in from outside, red-faced. "Whitney. Office. Now." She looked at Wesley, sighed, and handed over the tongs again. Sorry, she whispered. Wesley watched her disappear into the back. Again. This time he followed quietly. He stopped outside the office door, just far enough to stay out of sight. Travis's voice cut through the wall. You took too long refilling the eggs. I told you if you want this job, you move like your rent depends on it. I haven't had a day off in 9 days, Travis, Whitney said, her voice cracking. You want to work somewhere else? Go ahead. But here, you earn your hours. No breaks. No sitting. That's how we run things. Wesley felt heat rise in his chest. His hands were shaking. He turned and walked back to the front, jaw tight. Tomorrow, he'd work the line again. But not for practice. He was watching. And soon, Travis would know exactly who had been standing behind that salad bar. By Thursday morning, Wesley had memorized the entire kitchen layout, the rhythm of the lunch rush, and which cooks stayed calm under pressure. He'd also noticed that every time Travis was on shift, the atmosphere shifted, something changed in the air. People moved faster, but not out of motivation. It was tension. The kind that grinds into your shoulders and makes you keep your head down. Whitney hadn't said much after yesterday's blow-up, but she looked more drained than before. There was a new cut on her left knuckle. She didn't mention it and Wesley didn't ask. Yet, the day's prep was already behind schedule by the time the first customers trickled in. A new girl, maybe barely 19, was working grill for the first time. Her hands shook as she tried to portion out blackened chicken. Wesley stepped in beside her to help. You want to keep the tongs moving, he said quietly. If it sits too long, it dries out. She nodded, grateful. I'm trying. Travis didn't really show me much. Just said, don't screw it up. Wesley caught her name tag, Tara. He won't be here all day, right? She asked. He didn't answer. Travis arrived an hour later. He didn't acknowledge anyone. Just dropped his backpack in the manager's office, then walked the line with a clipboard, scanning each station like he was hunting for mistakes. Why's the corn low already? He barked at Tara. She stammered. I thought I had enough prepped. Travis cut her off. Don't think. Check. You burn through product like that again, it comes out of your hours. Wesley watched Tara's face freeze. He kept his voice level. I can show her how to batch faster. Might help. Travis didn't look at him. She can figure it out or she can find the door. Wesley said nothing more. But he noted it. An hour later, the dining room was full. A group of tourists asked if they could push 2 tables together. Travis, leaning near the drink fountain, gave a lazy shake of his head. Not allowed. Keep them how they are. One of the older women asked if they could at least move closer to the window. Nope. That's reserved for mobile pickups. Whitney glanced up from the register. We don't actually reserve that section, Travis cut her off. We do now. Wesley's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Customers were watching. After the group left, Whitney moved beside him near the prep counter, quietly slicing avocado. He's getting worse this week, she said under her breath. You think he knows something's up? I don't think he ever thinks beyond the next power trip, Wesley said. She gave a tired laugh. At least you're honest. Mid-afternoon, a new delivery came in. Boxes of produce, rice, and sauce bases. Travis shouted from the back. Salad bar guy. Help unload. Wesley headed out. The delivery driver looked annoyed. Your guy didn't sign for the last shipment. I left a note. Still got charged for it. Travis waved a hand. Don't care. Drop it and go. Wesley caught that. As the driver rolled out the last cart, Wesley pulled him aside near the loading dock. Hey, Kel. I'm new. Can I ask, was there a shortage on last week's shipment? The driver looked over his shoulder. Yeah. Half the produce was missing. Told your manager. He just shrugged. Said he'd adjust the system. I don't know what that means, but I logged it with corporate. Wesley nodded slowly. Thanks. That helps. He returned to the kitchen and watched Travis sign off the invoice without checking a single box. Later, during restock, Wesley found a stack of unopened produce shoved behind the dry goods shelf. Carrots, lettuce, still sealed. Past the delivery date by 2 days. No reason they should still be there. He tracked down Whitney's stocking napkins. I found some stuff in dry storage. Looks like it never got rotated out. Is there a reason? She lowered her voice. Travis says we can't toss anything unless it's obviously gone. Even if it's expired. He says it's wasteful. Does anyone else know? Maybe. But no one says anything. He makes people redo whole shifts if they challenge him. The pieces were connecting. Travis was skimming product, hiding old stock, and intimidating staff into silence. And he was doing it while putting the store's reputation and health code at risk. The final straw came just before close. A teenage boy with Down syndrome came in with his older sister. They sat quietly near the counter looking over the menu. Whitney approached them with a smile, took their order, and walked it back to the line. Travis stepped in as she passed. "You gonna comp that one too?" he said, loud enough for them to hear. "You soft types always hand out freebies to make yourselves feel good." Whitney froze. Wesley stopped mid-chop. She turned. "No one's comping anything. They're paying." Travis crossed his arms. "You're getting real bold lately." Wesley stepped forward. "Manager or not, don't talk like that in front of customers." Travis looked at him, finally taking notice. "You got something to say, salad boy?" Wesley pulled off his name tag slowly and set it on the prep counter. "I do." He walked past the counter, through the line, and into the dining room. Every employee stopped what they were doing. Whitney watched with wide eyes. Tara looked like she'd stopped breathing. Wesley turned to face them all. "My name is Wesley Jameson. I own this store. And 7 others." Silence. Travis's face went pale. "I've been working here for the last few days undercover. I've watched employees carry this place on their backs. I've seen dedication, skill, and professionalism, especially from people who were treated with zero respect." He looked at Whitney. "You've kept this place running. You never cut corners. You show up early, stay late, and treat every customer like they matter." She blinked, not quite processing. Wesley turned to Travis. "And you? You've intimidated staff, violated labor policy, ignored health procedures, and disrespected customers. I've documented everything. Today's your last day." Travis scoffed. "You don't have proof. I have a full report. And I was standing 10 feet away from you all week. You're done. Leave. Now." Travis stared at him, mouth half open, then turned and stormed into the office. The door slammed. No one moved. Wesley exhaled, then looked around the room. "Whitney, can you lock the front door? Everyone else, take 5 minutes. Paid. We're having a talk." He waited until the door clicked shut. "I'm not proud of what I found here, but I am proud of how you all handled yourselves. Most of you walked into a bad situation and made the best of it. That ends now." Tara raised a hand slowly. "Does this mean? Do we still have jobs?" Wesley nodded. "Not only do you have jobs, you're going to be part of fixing this place." He turned to Whitney. "You're the new shift lead, effective immediately. I'll be here the rest of the week to help transition." She looked stunned. "You don't have to say yes," he added. "But you've earned it." She nodded once, still absorbing it. "Also," Wesley continued, "no more off-the-clock hours. No more skipped breaks. And if you ever feel uncomfortable here again, my direct contact is going up in the break room. No middlemen." He paused, then looked around again. "If anyone wants to leave, I'll give you a reference and a bonus for the trouble. But I hope you'll stay. I want to rebuild this place with people who give a damn." For the first time all week, the room felt light. Wesley stepped back behind the counter, next to Whitney. "You still want me on salad bar tomorrow?" he asked. She grinned. "Only if you can keep up. I'll take that challenge." Friday morning came with a slow drizzle and a foggy haze that clung to the glass storefront. Wesley arrived early, still dressed in his trainee gear, different khakis, same navy shirt. He hadn't planned on staying undercover another day, but after the reveal, Whitney had asked if he'd be willing to shadow the shift like before. Not to oversee, to observe quietly while she stepped into the role of shift lead. He agreed. Inside, the lights were already on. Whitney stood at the manager's terminal, typing with one hand, holding a clipboard with the other. Her eyes moved fast, checking inventory against what remained from the night before. The manager's office door was open and empty. Travis had cleared out before opening. Wesley had confirmed it with HR the moment he left. "Morning," he said, stepping inside. Whitney didn't look up. "The vendor shorted us again. Romaine's 2 crates shy. I called it in. They said to expect it tomorrow." "I'll call the supplier myself later," Wesley replied. "We'll work with what we've got." She set down the clipboard and finally looked at him. "I'm not used to being listened to when I say stuff like that." "You'll have to get used to it," he said, "because that's not going to change." The morning shift trickled in. Tara from the grill, eyes clearer than yesterday. Luis from prep, checking temperatures without being told. And a new face, Devin, a rehire from 2 months ago who had left because of management issues. Whitney had called him the night before and asked if he'd consider coming back for part-time. Devin was quiet, but efficient. He had the kind of instincts that made stations run smoother without needing attention. Wesley watched him clean and reset the entire hot bar in under 20 minutes without saying a word. By mid-morning, the store was steady, not slammed. Whitney moved between stations, coaching without hovering. She stopped Tara gently when she saw her overloading portions, showed her a quick folding technique for pita wraps, then stepped away to let her try again. Wesley worked beside Luis on cold prep, cutting fruit for the day's mix. "I didn't think you were serious," Luis said suddenly, not looking up. "About getting rid of him?" "I was." He nodded once. "We talked about it. After you left. None of us ever thought someone like him could be touched." Wesley peeled a mango. "No one's untouchable." Luis paused, then added he used to make comments. "About my accent. Thought it was funny to ask if I learned to cook in a taco truck. I'm from Santa Fe. Born here." Wesley's hands stopped. "Why didn't you report it?" Luis shrugged. "To who?" He was the one who checked the log. Wesley's jaw tightened. "If that ever happens again anywhere, you call me directly." "You have that right?" Luis gave a small nod but didn't say anything else. Lunch rush came fast. The line snaked past the door by 12:30. Whitney stayed near the front, working the register and directing flow. Devin floated to whichever station backed up. Wesley noticed that he never waited to be asked. He just watched, anticipated, and jumped in with short, specific questions. "You need more rice?" he asked Tara, already heading toward the rice warmer. "Yeah, that'd help." "Thanks," she replied, not missing a beat. Wesley changed gloves and moved to salad bar, partly to help, partly to see if anything had shifted. The energy wasn't perfect. There was still tension, a kind of residual stress in some shoulders and glances, but it was different. Focused. Not fearful. A woman in her mid-50s approached, scanning the line. She wore a navy polo with a regional health badge on the sleeve. She didn't announce herself. Just moved quietly, watching. Whitney noticed her and stepped over. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Health inspection." "Surprise visit." Whitney didn't flinch. "Of course." "Let me grab our current logs." Wesley stepped back, letting her handle it. He said nothing. The inspector moved efficiently, checking temperatures, examining storage, watching how food was handled. She paused once near the back shelf, where sealed produce bins were rotated and dated. She nodded, made a note, and moved on. After 20 minutes, she returned to the front. "You had some inconsistencies in the past," she said to Whitney. "That's not showing today." "We've made changes," Whitney replied. "Staffing, systems, oversight. Good. Keep it up." She left without further comment. Wesley stepped beside her once the door shut. "You handled that well." She didn't even flinch when she saw Devin. "That's how I knew we were doing better." Wesley raised an eyebrow. Why would she have flinched? Whitney hesitated. "He got profiled once. By a temp manager before Travis. Said he looked like he was sneaking around the back hallway. He was just hauling trash." "Who was that manager?" "Already gone. Months ago. Probably why Devin left the first time." Wesley said nothing but made a mental note to revisit past personnel evaluations. By 2, the rush tapered off. Whitney let Tara take a 10-minute breather in the back. She didn't clock out. Nobody questioned it. Wesley sat at a corner table, watching. He hadn't eaten all day. Whitney brought him a bowl half quinoa, grilled eggplant, lemon tahini drizzle. No fanfare, just set it down and returned to her station. He took a bite. For the first time since he'd started this, the food felt like it matched what the company promised: fresh, balanced, intentional. Devin joined him a few minutes later, wiping his hands on a towel. "I don't think I said thanks," he said. "For letting me come back. You didn't need to. You earned it." Devin glanced over at the line, then back. "I didn't leave just because of Travis. My dad got sick. I had to pick up work somewhere else. But when I came back to check if anything had changed, he told me I'd missed my shot. Told me no one wanted part-timers with baggage." Wesley's face hardened. "That's not how we do things. Not anymore." They sat in silence for a moment, both watching the floor as Whitney adjusted the POS screen for the evening shift. "I'm not looking for sympathy," Devin said. "Just wanted you to know I want this to work. I'm not wasting a second chance." "You won't," Wesley said. "As long as you show up and treat people right, you'll have a place here." As the afternoon wore on, Whitney moved through her checklist. She double-checked sauce levels, reviewed the cleaning schedule, and confirmed the weekend's catering order. Not once did she ask Wesley for help. She didn't need to. At close, after the last customer left and the kitchen had been deep cleaned, Wesley called the team into the dining area. "Tomorrow, I'm bringing in a support manager from another store," he said. "Not to take over. Just to help with coverage while we hire properly." A few employees exchanged glances. "She's good," he added. "Old school. No ego." Whitney crossed her arms. "Will she be doing scheduling?" "For now, yes. But I want you looped into every decision." She nodded slowly. "We'll also be getting a new delivery vendor. I'm not trusting the current one with produce anymore." Luis gave a small, satisfied grunt from behind the counter. And Wesley continued, "I want to hold open interviews on Tuesday. One day only. You all can refer whoever you trust. People you want to work beside." Devin raised a hand. "Can we sit in on those?" "The interviews?" Wesley looked at him. "You want to help choose who joins?" "Yeah. We know what works here. We know who won't." Wesley nodded. "You're in." As they wrapped up, Whitney lingered near the front door. "You're still going to other stores, right?" she asked. "Yes." "Good," she said. "Because I don't think this was the only place like this." He didn't argue. She was right. But as he stepped into the cool night air, something felt different. This store had been broken, quietly for a long time, but now it was rebuilding one shift, one voice at a time. Tuesday morning opened with a kind of quiet focus. Not tense, not light, just deliberate. Whitney stood at the back prep table, her sleeves rolled to the elbow, reviewing the updated checklist that now hung laminated above the sink. It was her idea to codify everything that had been informally passed down: portion standards, rotation dates, closing tasks, so that new hires wouldn't have to learn by guessing. Devin and Tara were already on the floor, prepping cold mix and portioning sauces. No one needed to be told what came next. That was new. The door hadn't even unlocked yet, and there was a line starting to form outside. Not customers, candidates. Word had spread fast about the walk-in interviews. Whitney had posted a simple notice on the store's social page, and Devin had mentioned it to a few friends in his night class. Now there were a dozen people standing under the awning, some clutching resumes, others just waiting with hands in pockets. Inside, Wesley sat at a corner table, laptop open, a mug of black coffee cooling beside him. He wasn't planning to lead the interviews. That was Whitney and Devin's responsibility. But he'd be nearby, observing, listening. Luis arrived just after opening and without a word moved to sanitize the front counter. He passed Wesley, gave a short nod, and continued on. Since Friday, Luis had barely spoken unless necessary. But he hadn't missed a single shift, and his prep work had been clean, consistent, and early. That said more than words. By 9, the first candidate stepped in. Whitney greeted her at the door, motioning toward the small table set up near the window. Devin joined her with a clipboard and pen. They didn't put on airs. No corporate scripts. Just asked real questions. What do you do when the station behind you falls behind during a rush? What's one mistake you made on a job? And what did you change after? What's your worst day look like and how do you handle it? Wesley didn't step in. He watched. The questions were better than half the ones his regional managers used across the chain. And the candidates responded differently, too, more honest, less rehearsed. One woman admitted she'd once broken a cooler thermometer and tried to hide it. Learned my lesson. I was 17. Since then, I own it fast when I mess up. Whitney took a note and thanked her. Between interviews, the store still ran at full speed. Louise handled line prep while Tara floated between the grill and cold bar. Whitney stepped back in during the lunch rush, moving with clean precision but didn't touch the register unless needed. She let Devin direct the line, testing what it looked like for him to lead without being told. Around noon, a man in his late 40s came in for an interview. He wore a stiff white button-down and a tie that didn't match. His resume was printed on heavy cardstock. Devin greeted him, but the man barely looked at him, just handed the resume to Whitney, eyes scanning her like he was waiting for someone else. "I thought I'd be meeting with the actual manager," he said. Whitney kept her tone even. "You are." The man tilted his head. "Right? Well, I've got 20 years in food service. Shift leadership, procurement, team development. I'm looking to move quickly into salaried management." Devin asked, "What's your experience with team conflict? Say a crew member refuses to take direction." The man waved a hand. "If someone doesn't fit, they're out. No time for hand-holding." Whitney asked, "How do you approach training someone with no prior experience?" "I expect them to watch and learn. I don't coddle." Devin wrote something on his clipboard. The man noticed and narrowed his eyes. "You're the hiring manager's assistant?" he asked. "I'm part of the team that makes the decision," Devin replied. The man gave a humorless laugh. "That's generous." Whitney's hand moved slightly toward the resume. "We're going to end the conversation here," she said. "Thanks for coming in." He blinked. "Excuse me? We're not moving forward. You're welcome to look elsewhere." His tone shifted. "Look, I didn't mean anything. I just thought this was a more professional environment." Wesley stood up from his table. "It is. Which is why we don't tolerate what just happened." The man turned to him. "And you are. I own the company." "You're done here." No one raised their voice. No one needed to. The man left without another word. The door closed with the kind of silence that said more than yelling ever could. Wesley turned to Whitney. "Handled exactly right." She nodded, then turned back to Devin. "We've got a few more in the afternoon. You good to keep going?" Devin adjusted the clipboard. "I'm good." By mid-afternoon, they'd spoken to 15 people. 4 stood out. 2 had strong kitchen experience but didn't talk down to others. 1 was a college student looking for part-time work in the evenings. The last was a woman in her early 30s who'd spent 5 years as a caregiver and was looking to transition into a steadier schedule. Whitney liked her instantly. She listens before she answers. That's rare. They offered conditional spots to all 4. Background checks would take 2 days. Wesley put in the requests personally. At closing, the team gathered in the back. No announcements. No speeches. Just a shared quiet as they wiped counters and stacked chairs. Whitney leaned against the back cooler, sipping a bottle of water. Devin looked over. "We're gonna need a second prep table by next week." Wesley nodded. "I'll order it tomorrow." Louise finished wiping down the line and spoke up for the first time all day. "Feels different now. Not easier. Just cleaner." No one replied. They didn't need to. As the last light dimmed and the store locked for the night, Wesley stayed behind with Whitney. The office door stood open. The air smelled like lemon sanitizer and roasted garlic, evidence of the day, not mess. "I'm stepping back after Thursday," he said. "You won't see me in here unless something's wrong or you ask." She looked up from the invoice list. "You sure? You've got it handled. This place is yours to lead." She closed the folder and leaned back slightly. "Then I've got one ask. Name it. Don't let this be the only store that gets fixed. There are others. You know that." He met her eyes. "I do." "Then go fix them." He nodded once, slowly. "I will." She stood, stretched her shoulders, and gathered her things. "Good night, Wesley. Good night, Whitney." She left. The door closed behind her. He sat there a while longer, the quiet settling in. Not the nervous kind. The kind that meant something had ended the right way. The store would open again in 10 hours. The work would continue. But the damage had been uncovered, addressed, and corrected. And no one would ever be forced to stay silent again.